Politics in Rwanda in the early 1990s became a so complex situation that observers and scholars have not yet finished writing about it and about its role in the 1994 genocide. Rwanda, Le Virage Raté is the latest book by Ferdinand Nahimana, a professor in history who is currently in the UN tribunal custody in Arusha. He points a finger at Mr. Faustin Twagiramungu, the first post-genocide prime minister in Rwanda, whom I managed to meet in Belgium. Mr. Twagiramungu, you ran for presidency in 2003 against current President Paul Kagame. Are you planning to run for presidency again?
Well, for the time being, I haven't made up my mind, and I can't answer this question at this particular time.
Professor Nahimana says that you were the major obstacle to the peace agreement that was signed between the RPF and the government of President Habyarimana. What is your response to that accusation?
Well, each and everybody has got his own assessment as far as the situation in Rwanda is concerned. You have Westerners, you have Africans, you have Rwandans themselves. So they certainly tell whatever they likely want to say. As far as I'm concerned, I believe that in 1994, I was among those Rwandans who decided that Rwanda should negotiate with RPF. So I don't initiate a project and then afterwards fight against it. Mm-hmm. So I have not really tried by any way to intrigue or to just not willing that this peace agreement be implemented, not at all.
Mm-hmm. More specifically, Nahimana says, for instance, that the situation in Rwanda became so bad when your party, the MDR, the Republican Movement, met with the RPF in Brussels in 1992. And from then on, you decided together with RPF that Habyarimana was the only obstacle. And for that, Nahimana says you are perhaps to be held responsible, but you are denying it. Who do you think is then responsible for the tragedy in 1994?
Well, I don't think that it would be too much, frankly, to try and say that Mr. Twagiramungu would be the person who is central to this question of what has happened to Rwanda. You know, when we met here in Brussels, it was just the beginning of assessing the situation, how Rwandan authorities and RPF could negotiate. I think Mr. Nahimana has to remember that when we met here, we have not yet negotiated with RPF. So it was a start. After our meeting, there is another meeting which has been held in Paris, which meeting then defined how the negotiations will go about in Arusha. So to meet is not betraying my country. To meet in Brussels was a way to pave the way, rather, so that we can negotiate.
In his analysis, Nahimana also says that the genocide took place indeed, but those who prepared the genocide are not those held in Arusha, but rather current President Paul Kagame. Do you agree with this assertion?
Well, I don't know if I have to comply with what Mr. Nahimana says. If it's got elements and the evidences to what he says, then it is okay. He has to continue and try to convince the international community that Mr. Kagame has planned the genocide. This, frankly, I cannot make my own comments. If I make my own research, probably, in the future, we could probably come to the same point. But for the moment, I don't have to make a comment.
Your father-in-law, Gregoire Kayibanda, was the first Hutu president who chased the Tutsi monarchy from power in the early 60s. Don't you have a kind of regret or a kind of sentiment of betrayal for having collaborated 30 or 40 years later with the sons of those your father-in-law chased?
I don't know what you call betrayal. You know, I am a Rwandan. If you wish, I am a Hutu. and those who were refugees in Uganda were Tutsis. My main objective until now, and today I have to repeat it, is that Rwandans have to live together. When you mentioned Kayibanda, I don't think that Kayibanda would today, if he was still alive, saying that all Rwandans must be separated. The Hutus must go out of Rwanda, or Tutsis must go out of Rwanda, and the Hutus remain in Rwanda. We have to live together. So it was not a crime as far as I'm concerned to try to have Rwandans living together, Hutus and Tutsis.
My personal analysis of Nahimana's book is that Rwanda has been moving from revenge to revenge. Let's say from ethnic revenge to ethnic revenge. He somehow made a list of all those lost occasions, saying this was the best time to correct the situation, but we failed. Do you think Rwanda's history is made of ethnic revenge?
Well, I don't think so. I'm not a historian as Mr. Nahimana pretends to be. I think Rwandans have been living together without fighting for centuries, and it happened a time where they started fighting each other, and I think fighting is not a solution. The solution would be to live together, and I think we have to all find means of for Rwandans to live together. So when he says that we have missed that occasion, I don't think that he has to. Well, I don't know whom he says was a problem for not taking a profit or advantage of this occasion so that Rwandans can live together. We are all responsible of what has happened in Rwanda. There's no part which has to be punished only because it had been involved in this situation. We all have this responsibility, and I think Mr. Nahimana also has got his own responsibility.
Nahimana, as you say, has some responsibilities as well because he's among the founders of the RTLM, the Radio Télévision de Mille. You were about to become the prime minister. You were actually prime minister, but you had not yet formed your government. Would you have shut down the RTLM if you had been sworn in? Was this a priority of your government?
Well, it would have been a priority, not only RTLM, but also to give a certain, I think, line of discipline to Radio Rwanda. Because both radios were being in a position to excite people to kill each other.
What about Radio Muhabura, which was also broadcasting at that time?
Well, the advantage of Radio Muhabura was not being, being turned on by all Rwandans. As you remember, this was shortwave radio, and most people were not listening to shortwave radio. They would rather be listening to radio FM. So Muhabura also was to be condemned by certain, most of its broadcasters.
My last question will be, all the witnesses, the major witnesses of 1994 genocide have written. I mean, for instance, the UN representative Jacques Roger Bobo, UNAMIR Commander Romeo Dallaire, two former ministers, Karemera and Gitabatware, and now Nahimana. You have kept silent while you are a key witness of that situation. Why?
Well, I am not as gifted as they are. Probably in the future time will come and be inspired to write my own story about what has happened in Rwanda.
Don't you think 10, 15 years later is too late?
Well, Mr. Nahimana has published his book after 13 years, if not 14. It's not too late, actually. People are still writing on Second World War, either biography or the history of that war. So it's never too late. What matters, I think, is to tell the truth.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.